it's still that way. It's like a family. And Jim is my go-to wisdom man. He really is. If I have a question, I think I had one today, right, Jim?
Yeah.
And I had many last year before I went into this, as you know.
Yeah.
And Jim was just wonderful. I mean, every time I called him, it was just, oh, it's okay. No, I can talk anytime you call. Yeah, I'm going about 65, 70 on the freeway, but I'm fine.
He always gets nervous when I'm driving.
Yeah.
I never get nervous when I'm driving.
Well, that's because he's a better driver than me. No, I have to, I can't talk and drive on the phone because
Randy? Where did you... When did you realize you wanted to be a singer? How did that evolve? Besides being an actor?
Yes, I remember. My 11th year of high school, I was in between the 11th and 12th. I was in summer camp, and I was doing some water skiing, and I kept feeling this little funny feeling from this one ski, and I think it was a parasite or some kind of bug got in my toe, and I left camp, and it got worse, and our school was crazy about football, and all the guys wanted to get letters, because if you weren't going to get the girls, they didn't get any letters to wear up and down the hall, and so I wanted to get that football there, and the doctor said if I got the parasite cut out of my foot for early practice in football, I wouldn't be able to run for a while, but he had this concoction that he mixed in some pills and some water, and he said this poison will seep through your skin and kill it, and you can still practice. And so I sit still with my foot bucket for 6 hours a day. He wanted me to do it, and there'd been a boy at camp that played some Kingston Trio songs, and he played guitar, and I had tied a couple of coffee cans together and played like bongos and played along with him and learned the songs. And I thought, gosh, maybe I could play the guitar. So I got back, I bought a guitar, and between sitting with the foot in the bucket of poison and playing the guitar, I don't think I would have learned to play if I hadn't had to sit still. The hardest thing about playing the guitar is that beginning part where you have to get your fingers shuffled up, because it literally cuts through your fingers when you first start playing. And so, but I would put it down and I'd pick it up, and my fingers got toughened up, and the ears of the people around me got toughened up. And pretty soon I could play it up until it sounded kind of like one.
And we're going to get to hear you sing a couple of songs tonight at the banquet, too, for those of you who come to the banquet. Sara?
Yes, sir.
How did you've been called a horse lady for one thing.
Yes.
Did that come from your father? Because your father, I don't know if everybody knows your father was an actor.
Yeah.
His name was Rusty Lane.
Oh, yeah. If my father had not been an actor, he probably should have been a vet. He loved animals. He took care of animals. He took care of all of our animals. But he wasn't that big a rider. I was horse crazy when I was little, and we didn't have a lot of money. My dad was an actor, a regular actor. And when I was 10 years old, we lived in a place where we were able to have a horse, and everyone in the neighborhood built corrals. And I got a horse right off a stable string that was on its way to the glue factory, because its saddle sores were so bad that it couldn't put a saddle on it anymore. So we got this horse home, And I didn't know how to ride, and I don't even think I had a saddle, but we couldn't have saddled her anyway. So we got a bridle, and I rode her. The first night we had a big storm, we were in Topanga Canyon by the beach. We brought her in the house. It was a somewhat rustic house, but yeah, we sure had her in the house. She was not too happy, so that was the last time we did that. But I really learned to ride backyard kind of horseback stuff. That's how I learned how to ride.
Did you ever get to work with your dad on any show? Any?
Yes, we did. I think we worked. It seems to me he did a Virginian while I was in the show. I'm not sure, but he came with me every day to the set. When I started also underage as a minor and needed to have a chaperone with me, in addition to a welfare worker teacher. And my daddy came every day with me, and he had a certain way of learning lines that he taught me, because he's from the theater, and boy, he was strict. You didn't mess around. You knew your lines, and you got there on time, and you behaved yourself. So even though I didn't get to work with him probably on camera very much, I surely worked with him a lot.
If you don't remember her dad, he had a great face, a wonderful character face, and ask Sara later, she'll show you a picture.
I've got
And
some
you'll say,
pictures
"Oh,
of him
yeah."
at the table, and I'm trying to get some more of him in Western. He did 500 live TV shows in New York in 5 years, and then moved out here when TV moved out, and he had to have been in every Western at least once. Yeah.
Don, somebody else that kind of gets overlooked when we're talking about the Virginian is the producer, Frank Price. What are your memories of Mr. Price?
Frank Price was a very, very talented man. He, I believe, was responsible for starting the Virginian, getting it going, and then they brought him back in the beginning of the 5th season. The ratings had, I think, fallen down in the 4th season. I forget who it was that had replaced Lee J. Cobb, but he was kind of, what was his name? He was kind of gruff. And, I don't think
Who's that?
the one that replaced Lee J.
John Daner.
John Daner. And it seemed he was a little gruff and whatever. So they brought Frank Price in. I think NBC was going to renegotiate their contract with Universal, and Universal was concerned about getting the ratings back up. So they brought Frank back in. And he decided that what he would do is try to get a younger kind of thing going there. So he brought Sara and myself and Charles Bickford to play our grandfather. And the scripts were really good, and they sent me out on a national tour. And when we came back, the show went back up into, I think it was number 11, the 5th season, and turned out to be the most successful season during the entire show. So it was a big success for everybody. Frank Price is a very, very talented man.
Clue, am I correct? You talked to Frank just a week or so ago before you came here, am I right?
Well, Frank was my best friend at that time. Frank Price was a young writer many years before the big show of the Virginian came on. He worked for a subsidiary of Columbia Pictures, which I consider Gene Autry's home base. I don't know if Jackie did or not, but I always considered it such. And the subsidiary companies like Screen Gems for Columbia at that time were interested in properties and material and storage for television. So Frank found a property that he liked, and he said, I like this Western. I like this book, The Virginian. Now this is a long time before the big show came. Looking for a half-hour subject, and it was free and clear, meaning it was unencumbered. Orrin Wister, the writer's family, for some reason, had given up the property, the rights to it. The publisher had given up the rights to the Virginian, so Frank said, okay. And he got a little script commission for the half-hour show, The Virginian. He said, I gotta have a guy who play the Virginian who will come in, is warm, come in these people's living rooms every week. And he found a guy, seemed like he was perfect to Frank. He had He had a square jaw like Charlton Heston. He had a baritone voice like Orson Welles. He could act, he could ride, and a good personality. It was James Drury. So now I'm coming to the bad part. He hired James, and James did a hell of a job, and it failed. They couldn't sell it. So we skipped to Universal a few years later, and that was the home of the Gray Fox, Lew Wasserman. That was his empire. And Lew said, okay, when Frank Stanton of NBC called Lew up, said, we got a problem. Wednesday night, our big show fell out. And that's our numbers, we're the champions. And Lew said, I know, I heard. Let me get back to you. So he called Frank Price, who worked for him as a writer-producer. Genius in film creativity, in my view. And he said, Frank, we got a problem. Frank said, I know. He said, we have to come up with something for Wednesday night for NBC. He said, yeah, I know. I think I have the solution. And Frank said, what? He said, let's do a movie. Every Wednesday night. Let's put a movie on in that slot. And Frank said, oh, that's a good idea, because, we have a lot of good pictures we made over the years. No, that's not what I meant. I want us to make a full-length motion picture to show each week on that vacant slot for NBC on Wednesday night. And Frank had a long silence. He shit in his britches. And then he said, okay. And Luke said, I want you to make a format. I want you to come up with something that will be viable for us. And I don't care what subject you pick. I want to know how long it'll take, how much money it'll take, the characters. I want to know everything. Frank went out with the shit in his britches. He went outside and he started working on the format, and he fell in love with this long form. And he said, this is something else that damn genius Lew Wasserman came up with. I think I'm going to use the Virginian again. And he did. And he made a format of 8 days, and he made a kind of a prototype of Gene Autry's films, 5 days at Republic to shoot a film, later 12 days at Columbia. I'll put it in the middle. We'll do ours in 8 days, between 5 days and 12 days, and we'll make that damn movie. And he took the format into Lew, and Lew said, that's terrific. And he gave it to Frank Stanton, president of NBC. He said, that's terrific, let's go, Lew. So they started in. They had to find a cast. Lew said, I'm going to leave it up to you. I'll help you, I'll approve of it, but you dig it out. He said, okay. And he started gathering the damnedest cast you've ever seen. He got James Drury again. There's no one better for the Virginian. Could do everything. The Virginian, James Drury. So he hired Jim. Then he had to have someone to match him. His acting power. Jim had made a picture in the meantime, and most of you guys know this. I know Courtney does, all of us. My second favorite Western of all time is Ride the High Country by Sam Peckinpah. My friend James Drury played the villain, scared the hell out of me, and he almost buried Joel McCrea and Randolph Scott as actors in that damn picture. He was that good. So they put him, they had to have someone to match that acting, that level. They got Lee J. Cobb. A lot of people consider Lee the second, third best actor in the nation. And he hated television. He hated the concept of the Virginian. He hated everything about it, everything that we did out here in Hollywood. And he signed on. He hated it so much that after a few years, and he'd amassed a small fortune, he built a big mansion several blocks down from me in Woodland Hills. That's how much he hated the television.